Welcome to Mindful Drawing. I'm Robert, and I'll be your guide in this meditation practice that enters a space of mindfulness through the act of drawing. And this week we'll use active verbs that are in their present tense with the ing to define a little bit of a direction, a concept, a constantly in action application or thinking through technique. Be very simple techniques, just making kind of the shape, a little elbow, a little hockey stick, a little L shape. But from that simple shape, we'll work with it in series and sequence and change over time to create some kind of morphing, braiding condition. Using the verbs in that way, kind of the funny, little bit nonsensical way of cramming two together, morphing, braiding, braiding, morphing, morphed, braiding, or braided, morphing, something like that, gives them a lot of agency, that each time you take action on the page, each time that mark flows out from your hand through the pen or pencil, you are thinking, a morphing, a braiding, simultaneous, intertwined together. And maybe along the way you find new words that help describe what you're thinking conceptually, new words that describe formally what you find on the page, and there's always this bit of action, maybe a few qualifiers, an adverb or adjective here or there. As we keep this in mind through our attention, our mindfulness to the idea, maybe we'll find ways to shape the drawing, to see where it goes, or just follow the words and see where they take us. I'm going to use pen today. Piece of paper here, Bristol taped to my desk, whatever you have, sketchbook, notebook, just a piece of scrap paper will work just fine, and any kind of writing, drawing instrument will get the job done. The things you learn in these practices are meant to be done anywhere, whether you're sitting in a meeting, at a desk, with a set of time for yourself, or just on the bus, subway, riding around, and need a little moment to focus the mind, calm things down, and maybe spark a little creativity. So let's go ahead and get into the practice. Gather your supplies, separate your space, and let's draw together. Idea for this week is kind of a behavioral idea that we'll follow with simple shapes, a kind of morphing idea over the space. You can add some other guiding to that, maybe a morphing, rotating, a morphing, shifting, a morphing, entangling or entwining as you start to grow the drawing. But the primary kind of concept we might think about is morphing and just the change over space and time. We can use any kind of simple shape. So warming up, I think I'll just use a bit of a like elbow or L-like shape, and it'll probably change a lot as we work, but something that gives a little bit of spatial difference, a little inside, a little outside. You could use any kind of shape, but the more complicated it is, the more time you spend drawing the shape, and that's just how it'll go, I suppose. Simple things, a U shape, a light bend, a more strict kind of corner, a zigzag would all be fine. Something you can make relatively comfortably, relatively repeatably, and it gives you a lot of flexibility to play with it. And then the idea we'll start to work with is kind of a simple change across space. So there'll be one shape, and then itself kind of repeated and moved. And each move, the shape could change a little bit. The relationship that it builds with the one before it can change a little bit. You get some kind of morph of that figure into something else. And over the course of the drawing, we'll probably change orientation. Things can get looser, more open, tighter, more controlled. And start to build up some suggestions of surface or forming there. We'll see what happens on the larger page. Whatever it ends up being will just be that repetitive change or dynamic, constant adjustment and morph to a simple figure. I think I'll use the pen just to make it show up a little bit more crisply if needed. But with a simple shape, it gives us a lot of opportunity to really bring our attention to each one of them and start to play with how quick or slow we move through those motions. Starting to find a pace that works for you, but the first few will just be at whatever naturally comes. So feeling out the page, finding somewhere where the hand feels drawn in, wherever that might be there on a piece of paper. taking a nice inhalation to ready yourself, and then making that first shape out on the paper. If it's marked, you can take a moment just to see it, see what it might set up in terms of space, where you have to move, directions. There's no right answer, but what might come to mind, and we'll start to layer onto it with that idea of morphing or transforming in space by moving, but also morphing by changing the character a little bit each time. Whether that's growing, scaling, a little bit of rotating, a little change to how the shape is made. And for the first few, just getting a sense of where we can move and play on the page. And if you run into a condition that makes the next move feel difficult to make the choice about, or it kind of crashes or collapses on itself, as you see, anything can continue on layering and turning, but that might also be a time to rest that action, see whatever has come from that first condition. Maybe look into the series and see if it looks like something, inspires something of a form, figure, or shape. That kind of crossing pattern of the L's looks a little bit like a braid or a weave. To me, it'll hook something organic, rope or twine or whatever, and you could take on some of that in how you build it up, or choose a new place, start again, new shape, same shape, whatever it is. But this time through, we'll bring a little more attention to each one, giving it a cycle of inhalation at the beginning to place the pen or pencil, and exhalation to form out the shape on the page. First few will go a little slow, just getting used to that rhythm, breathing in and exhaling through emotion. There's going to be a pause in between. You might start to notice, as I've done without thinking, some alignments. Bring that in to your control, breathing in, taking the time of the inhalation to find a place to begin, and exhaling out a mark. Noticing the initial starting point of the shape for a few breaths in and exhale out. Breathing in to find that location, and breathing out to let it flow across the page. When you get a sense of where the starting begins, whether it's just a point next to a point next to a point, random along a path, or something related to other things before, you can shift that attention through the breath to the forming of the shape, knowing the inhalation will guide us to a beginning, focusing in on the exhalation and that subtle transformation of one shape into its copy, its slightly similar, slightly different neighbor. Breathing in, always resetting the mind. Exhaling, allowing a deeper look into that slowed down action. Beginning to notice if there's patterns to how you draw the shape. Tendency to bend some way, or turn a corner some way. Maybe to notice how you're positioned to the paper, whether it's movable so you can adjust, or whether you have to adjust your hand. Affect that exhalation of line out onto the paper. Trying to stay in that rhythm of breathing in between marks, exhaling to make a mark. And anytime you reach a natural end, difficult orientation, or just the completion of what you see as the trajectory of the morph, and move somewhere else, start again in a new location, finding more flow in that cycle of the inhalation and the exhalation, one after the other at a regular pace of your breathing, but still slow enough with the engagement to the page to let each one be its own moment. Presence there with the idea of the exercise, the slow transformation over space and time. Morphing shape, maybe a morphing entwining shape, morphing and braiding shape, other kind of actions or behaviors come to mind. That engagement with the paper. Just flowing out on that cycle of our natural rhythm. Breath in that replenishes and fills. An exhalation that relaxes, opens. Over and over. Ready to start again at any place or time. And make it a little bit faster or smoother, depending on how you look at it, to get more comfortable with the cycle. Just keeping the pace somewhere where you're still seeing the inhalations, gap to the placement, seeing that little pause between the full breath and the exhalation. Still seeing the wave of the exhalation riding out onto the paper. Not too fast as you start to run ahead, but an even smoothness, motion, and engagement. And take a few minutes, the rhythm well established. Let it guide you, taking the time as the observer in the action, letting the eye and the hand take a little bit more of control as you watch and ride a nice cycle of in and out, shaping and not shaping, and draw. As you draw there, you may notice tendencies to either stay solid and firm with the rhythms, stay clear on the techniques, the ideas guiding the drawing, or you may notice running away a little bit, going a little quicker, finding that rhythm that guides you. I find one that oscillates intersections of the forms with intersections of the breath, one on the in, one on the out, crossing, moving a little quicker perhaps as we see how to make shape with the idea. And you can guide that or lean into rhythm that your mind and body tend to follow. Just keep a notice, an observation on if there's any tension that builds, getting lost only in the action, not allowing the breath to flow more easily. We can keep winding, braiding, morphing across space throughout the page until it fills overlapping in density, or if you're feeling open and a little relaxed there, you might start to read into some of these elements, looking for other layers of connection, giving shape to the shape, the form, trying to take place from the braiding, or just drawing into what you found. Let's see what it might become. Feel free to have a little fun moving the pen or pencil in another way, bridging lines, shading in the gaps. If your elements are close, they might suggest stronger figures. If they're farther apart, they may have interesting spaces between them. So we build up a complexity of line, the articulation of the change over space, the morphing suggesting perhaps motion. Letting the eye now see into what you started to put out on the paper. Perhaps a little imagining of a world, and just that playful filling the gaps. And you can observe the reactions of the body as we relax it with a technique and an attention to the breath. It may feel more free to move, to play into spaces. And a little warmed up, moving nice and quick, feeling more inspired to go places, to fill in an idea. Watch it. There's no constraint of speed or time, just an observation of what you've made in the space. A space of attention to your breath, attention to an idea, the morphing over time. Now expanding beyond just a technique at play. and with the potential winding, changing, ever dynamic situation of the page, lines relative to you and the paper, it might be fun the last few minutes to notice how that changes your way of engagement, your way of making your lines. Can you adjust the body to the space of the drawing? Or adjust the drawing to the space permitted by your body? If you're observing over and not finding anything in particular as a guide or visual reference there, we can just fall back to the technique, layer upon layer, light change upon change, bringing new shapes out from somewhere in there. Riding the waves with the breath, riding along as an observer of the tool. You can make lines, curves, points, shapes, volumes, depending on how we use it. Tool that slowly, sometimes very slowly over time, brings forward a suggestion of a theme. That translation from imagination or observation to a drawing or any other representation is trying to capture the millions of details with just a few marks. And over a little time, they come together and perhaps start to suggest something to that imagination engine in our mind. In the last few minutes of the exercise, noticing where you are as you draw. What do you hear around you? Noticing where you are, what you smell in the air, the atmosphere that holds you. A different attention to the breath, more direct, right on the tip of the senses. Noticing perhaps a little differently what you see where you are. The drawing in front of you can get so focused in on the moment of action and engagement. You have to slow the drawing or not, but let the eyes see a little wider, see a little more of the whole, perhaps. Noticing things you're touching, maybe a hand on the table or the sketchbook. A hand holding a pen or pencil. Maybe the feet on the floor, or your seat in the seat. All those things that engage our tactile senses. All those senses coming together, giving us a bit more picture of the world around us. And with all those senses engaged a little bit, we can use them to bring us back, zoom out a little bit from that drawing there, that focus down to the fine tip and point of the pencil, open to the air around us, sounds, smells, the things we are in contact with, maybe even a little bit of the taste, and look around and take in the space around you. Hopefully somewhere full of lots of potential visual reference or inspiration. Anything there could be interesting to see. A couple of stretches to the hand, maybe a couple of deep breaths, and prepare to move out into the day. Thank you for joining. It's often through these simple applications of technique, a simple driving concept, that we can find the most flexibility and consistency in a creative work. Over time, those become more nuanced, more complex. We're able to integrate more things at one time, but it's good to practice simple. Start with one or two things working together. See how they interface. Train the mind to be flexible, adaptable to those, sometimes in conflict, sometimes in resonance, and develop an awareness of what you produce and how you connect with that instrument of creativity. I'd love to hear what you made in the comments on the video, so please let me know below what you found through the exercise, or where you've taken this out in the rest of your day to bring calm, focus, and creativity to your practice of everyday life. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more weekly episodes of Mindful Drawing, getting back into a normal rhythm as the summer winds down and getting back into a more regular pace of things. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or evening, and draw well. Thank you.